Welcome to Build Out with Jim Kunkel, your go-to broadcast for learning more about business in the real world. Your host, Jim Kunkel, who is an accomplished professional in business development, sales, and marketing, and is a technical content creator along with being a rising influencer on LinkedIn. On Build Out, you'll get the latest information and knowledge from subject matter experts from across the globe. Okay, let's get this Build Out broadcast started. And here's your host, Jim Kunkel.
Welcome to Build Out. I'm Jim Kunkel. Joining me today is Charlene Brown, the brand misfit. Charlene, welcome.
Hi, Jim. I'm so excited to be here.
It's great to have you. Hey, before we get into our conversation of why website strategy is vital to marketing strategies, could you provide your professional background, talk about your firm, what you do, and also, too, I'd like you to go into some, provide some background information and information related to the streaming broadcast that you do here on LinkedIn Live, and I think maybe you're on other platforms as well. That'd be very great to hear about.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you. I have launched my business, Brooklyn Custom Designs, in 2014, and it was all about helping others, especially those who, like me, Black women who just didn't know how to get seen and be found online, to do so with their own platform. So stop chasing the algorithm, stop chasing other people's, standards of what your business should be looking like, and create your own foundation using a website. And I was self-taught in 2000. And I just, ever since then, just kept finding ways to improve on what's going on, follow the trends, see what's working, what's not. And then I realized, trends aren't really the thing to make sure that your core should really be, what's the purpose of your business? What's the reason for you doing that? And I learned WordPress in 2004. Oh my gosh, it's a long time. And ever since then, I was just trying to find the best way that technology can amplify our voices and our stories. And I knew that finding the actual strategy would be the way to do that. And I've been doing it ever since. I even have my master's in technology management, just so I know how's the proper way to really implement technology in a business standpoint.
If you could talk a little bit about some of the broadcasts that you do and some of the other type of platforms that you're on that people can catch your content.
Yeah, so they can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I host a show with my dear friend, Carl Sean Watkins, and we do Real Talk Live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I also have a show with my other friend, Shri. She does a great job helping people come live and be comfortable being live. So we do our sip and chats every Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, except for the last Tuesdays of the month. And I also have a mini series that I just started with Carl Sean Watkins, where we get into the different aspects of vulnerability and website strategy and how to make the two come together so you can really be your true, authentic self in the market. And we do those every Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern.
That's great. And I encourage everyone after watching this episode to go look at Charlene's profile on LinkedIn and take a look at some of the events and make sure you sign up and listen to some of the broadcasts. They're very informative. They're very entertaining, and they're a great watch. So I really appreciate you sharing that with me. So let's go ahead and move in and talk about the topic at hand. You were talking earlier about, early 2000s, about doing your degree and everything like that, and being involved in the aspect of websites and things like that. I had finished my master's degree in 2002, and it was in communication and information systems. And as we were talking before recording this stream, my background was more, the learn to code. I learned to code. I know a lot of the mechanics and the code and things that go behind the website. But what I've realized over the last 20 plus years, the evolution of websites, they're not what they used to be. And they are so complicated. They are so complex, but they can be so important to success and failure. And, when it comes to a website, it's much more than just having let's say a digital line card out there, or an information source, or here's how to learn about us. In today's 2022, how critical is a website for a company or professional?
It's so critical because that's the best way that you can tell your story uninterrupted.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like without you trying to fight and battle with other voices, you get to say what your scope of knowledge is, and you get to help them, your audience, understand where you're coming from. So if there's a strategy that you do, there's a ton of web developers and designers. But when you start to let people into your world and let them know how you work, why you work that way, why you're so passionate about what you do, then you get to have your own platform to say what it is that you do, and they get to know you better. So the website just gives that human side of you, and it allows you to give so much more detail and a complete picture. That's something that I always try to get my clients to see, that you get to have a complete picture in one place. Because it's, yes, you should be on social media, but I think that should be a place to amplify what you're already doing on your website.
That's a great point. For me with buildoutproductions.com, I'm slowly rolling this out, and I need to get up to speed because right now, I've got Broadcaster ongoing, and I want to leverage my website to be able to promote my content and to also to drive the dialogue and also the engagement. So I know I have a long way to go. Now I use, for example, the GoDaddy, and it has a builder and things like that. And I know there's, WordPress, there's a lot of the what I would call, and maybe they're not called this anymore, more of the template type of builder sites and things like that.
Yes.
When you are a professional, or if you have a small business or you have an emerging, growing business, what's the best thing to go after when it comes to a website? Should you do something that's more template like that? You just fill in the blanks, or should you do something that's more organic that a professional like yourself would create?
I would definitely say go with the template. Go with the template. I would normally say even a theme, but I hesitate a little bit because sometimes the themes have gotten completely complex in the back end. So they become more confusing to put together than anything else. So I would say go with the simple template, regardless of where it may be coming from, a theme or a page builder or anything like that. And allow it to have something that's as close to what your industry is for now, just so you can get a feel of what the look should be, how you can lay things out. And then I always say, go back to strategy. What's the main purpose for you at that moment? What's your focus that you're trying to do for that quarter? And then, of course, know what the yearly outcome should be. So then you can start promoting those things on the website more prominently, and you can switch things out at the best time. So we're entering the second quarter. A lot of people have different things they want to promote for second quarter. So those plans should already be ready. So you already have the copy, you have your images being created at this time. You even have links. So let's say you have external events that you want to send people to buy tickets. Those links should be ready. So by the time you get ready to do it yourself or even hire a professional, all of that is already together in a package that you can just get ready to work.
Yeah. And what I've learned to do is to incorporate, what I really like about the templates is that you've got a lot of frame, and a lot of times they offer recommendations on fonts and other type of imaging. But I use that in conjunction with I have a pro account with Canva, and specifically what I'm doing in business topics and focused on what I'm covering. In some cases, the stock images might be okay that are available in these template sites, but there are some occasions where the video clips that might be there, or the graphics, the photos are not quite where I need them to be, and I kind of augment that with the use of Canva to kind of develop the graphics that I'm looking for and utilize it. So to your point, yeah, I think those systems or those platforms are really great because it's speed, it's fast, you can do it yourself. And then if you need to augment it, then you have other sources like Canva to be able to create some of the graphics and things like that. When you're looking at a website strategy, in your professional recommendation, is this something that should be mapped out a whole year in advance, or should it be broken up by quarter?
It really depends on how expansive your plans are, because some people have simple goals. It doesn't take that much. or you have a large, real full body plan, and you need to understand all the steps that come with that. So that part, if it's really intensive, there's people who do masterminds, there's people who do a lot of group intensive work, then you need to map that out. What does it look like when you start to bring in those new eyes? How are you going to get them from point A to B to sale? So you want to make sure that all of that is really mapped out efficiently. So then what if you need to invest in technology? What if you need to invest in a new service? You want to make sure that the funding is there. So that's where the long-term planning comes in. So then you're not caught off guard. And I find a lot of times people are kind of caught off guard when they go into the development part, because now they're like, oh, wait a minute, I have to pay for this, I have to pay for that. So then you have a lot of designers like myself where we come in and we're saying, okay, here's a full package, and that's a huge investment. So when you're breaking down what the package entails, they're like, oh, okay. And part of that is because they weren't ready. So when you can really plan out what is it that you want to do, and then have a strategy session. So either with a marketer or a website strategist like myself, then you can map out what is it that you're going to need to do when you're getting ready. So by the time you say, okay, I have the funding, I'm ready to let's go, it moves faster. It moves so much quicker. And then you can start changing things up and update your site accordingly throughout the year. So when you have the yearly map may not have to be too detailed, because like I said, if you're doing something simple, we already have that planned out. But if you're doing highly intensive things, like the masterminds and outside events, you have to coordinate with other people, then that's when you really want to do a deep dive. And that might be something that you plan a year in advance, so everybody can come together at the right time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do underestimate exactly what the investment's going to be needed. And then also too, when it comes to the management of a site, that in some cases could be a full-time position just trying to manage that, or it could be a team depending on the complexity of what goods or services that you're offering. The one thing I recommend when I have professional friends that approach me and say, what should I do about my, I have a growing company. What should I do related to developing a website and then a strategy? What I always like to recommend is benchmark off of competitors. Look at what they're doing, look at their position within the market, and look at where the perception of them. And sometimes you could do an informal survey to see exactly, is it brand A, B, or C that's your competitor that's doing well? If brand A is doing better and their website is more intuitive, if it's more advanced, if it's got a lot of things built into it, then that is a good indication that their website strategy tied in with a marketing strategy has made them very effective and also engaging, but also that's the reason for their position. And it's kind of the Amazon type of approach. And I've seen a lot of companies in different industries kind of look at a lot of the intuitive, a lot of the AI and built into it. You're going to have to realize that if you want that level of sophistication and also the engagement opportunity and the growth, or to your point earlier, converting people from being, clicking into a website, staying in the website, but converting them into sales or some other profitable activity, you're going to have to make a major investment into that. There's nothing cheap. You can't have a successful good thing that's real cheap. You have to invest in it accordingly. When you're looking at a company, typically what type, I know this is tough to put you on the spot, but typically what type of, we talking 5,000, 10,000, could it be a lot more than that?
Well, yeah, it depends on, one, what do you need? And two, who are you hiring? A lot of times I see folks go to a web designer when they need a web developer. They need someone who can code. They need someone who can get in the back end if needed. And you have people who will go to a developer when all they really needed was a designer, where they don't need the extensive or the extensive functionality. They just need something that makes what they already have prettier, or more fine-tuned and honed in on how to get people from one set to the next. And that's a lot of times you just have to understand where the strengths come in. I've worked as I'm pretty much a full stack developer, which means I do the design and I do the development. And what I've started to really go into was the structure of design using templates. So yes, I'm using templates, but what I do is I still take my expertise in the design and I can take a template, break it apart and bring different pieces together. So that's like another level. So for me, a lot of my clients, we starting at 5,000 just to get you started, launched, get the setup done. And then you can easily, I always hear people, oh, I can get a site for $1,000. Yes, but what exactly are you getting for $1,000? Because a lot of times they literally take that template and they just plug in your photos and that's it. You're not really getting a full out customized site, especially when it comes to functionality. So I always say to people, make sure that you know what it is you need, and then you'll know if the price point is where you should be at. Because most developers who are really going to dig deep into the code in the back end or have to build something out from scratch, they're not going to start at $1,000. They're barely going to start at $5,000. So you really have to understand what is it that you're asking for. I've been doing this for over 22 years. I'm not going to come in at a startup level. So that's something else too. If you're going to someone who has a long standing expertise and longevity in the field that they're in, then you're not going to get them at $500 or whatever that may look like. So it's good to be realistic, and it's good to start doing that research, because there's so much out there that explains why you're getting a higher price, because that person's been around longer, they know more of the development side, or they know more design, or they're probably giving you a full team. That's something else to consider. If someone, because I always say a designer and developer, they don't create copy. We barely do the graphics for you, but if we will take that time to do it, then that's an extra investment that you have to consider. Or maybe I have a team, so they're coming in to do the copy and everything else.
Yeah, you can't expect a high performance vehicle, paying at an entry level car price. So you have to really look at that. One other thing too that I would throw out there, I like how you talked about the combination of using some of the templates and things like that. Because really when it comes down to your knowledge, your expertise, and this is something that you do with a lot of people. You've developed over your career a great understanding of what needs to be done, and you know how to do it in a quicker manner. So to your point, it's very important to qualify the professional that you're working with that's designing your website. What are some of the things that someone should look for to qualify a person to do this type of work?
Well, I would say if they can answer questions immediately, not always have to research or get back to you, because a lot of times if you have the response, let me get back to you. It depends on the extensive question as well. Is it something deep dive, like, okay, this is something new? Because a lot of the new things that are the NFTs, the web 3, all of those that are coming out, yes, you're going to have a lot of us saying, okay, let me research that, because I'm not always in that field, but let me reach out to other people, let me see what I can do. But something that's basic, meaning how long does it take to launch this type of a website? How could I get a store to integrate? What if I wanted this type of platform? What if I want Shopify and WordPress? How can I get the two to work? Like those type of things can be quicker responses depending on if that person's been around long enough. So it's, and I always say, don't bank on only the portfolio, because maybe the portfolio that they show is just the best work that they've done recently, but they do know how to put together a store. They do know how to do a fashion site, all those kind of things, because the underlying foundation is how can we get the layout to maximize what it is that you want to put out there. So never think that, the portfolio isn't the is not showcasing what I'm looking for, because that it's never going to be what you were looking for, because it's not your idea. So I always say two industry sites are never going to be the same, because they're looking for different aspects. They're looking for different outcomes. So if you have Apple and Samsung, they're both technology sites, but they have different outcomes that they're looking for.
Yeah, that's a good point. When it comes to modern day with the websites, in the past, the website tend to reside, if you had an IT team, it resided with the IT team. Today, is that the case, or is it marketing that really has more control over a website?
I think it's more of a combined hold, because yes, they're still going to need the IT or the tech team to deal with the website's functionalities, but then you're going to have the marketing team who's going to still take that ownership of what are we putting on there? How does it look? Is it getting across? Is it reaching our numbers? And then of course you have others who are going to come in to do the copy. You're going to have people who are going to come in to do the graphic part of it. So it's all of those. I think it's a better fit if it's a team effort that's coming in to say, yes, we all own what's happening on this website together. And then that way you have a better product.
Good point. Good point. So if I'm a novice, or I'm somebody who's, looking to really roll out a new company, and I'm very curious when it comes to websites, obviously we talked about website strategies related to marketing. When it comes to like SEO, when it comes to AI and those things, where are some areas that you would recommend someone to go just to educate themselves? Where is there sites to go visit, to look at, books that you would recommend, or publications?
Well, I definitely always say go to the source. A lot of times you'll have the coding industry, I would say, kind of navigated by W3, and they kind of tell us what's the standard, what should we be doing. But there's so many out there that even I don't really have like a set go-to place. I just make sure that I find as many as I can, and I look for what's resonating with me, what's fitting with what I need to have done. And I start to say, okay, this seems like the industry standard, like how accessibility is a must-have right now on websites. So once that's rolled out, I start to look at all the given places of who's out there talking, because even though there's the standards that's out there, they're not always telling me enough, or they're not always on ball to say, okay, we're the first ones to tell you. So I try to go and just see who's out there and expand, because even the newcomers, they tend to have a lot of times their ears closer to the ground, and they tend to see a lot of the insights that I'm looking for, especially from the consumer standpoint. I want to know what the consumers are struggling with. How do they feel about bringing these technologies on? And it's different when you're listening to a techie tell you than when you're listening to someone who's non-tech.
Yeah, I like that recommendation. You really need to listen to your customers, listen to your prospects, listen to the audience. It's really, viewing your content, your website, your information, but also too, in some cases, they're utilizing that as well to make decisions or to inform themselves. Charlene, we talked about so much, and what a great conversation. In closing out this episode, is there anything that you would want to leave with the viewers related to website strategies associated in the aspect of marketing strategies?
Yes, I always say the cheap comes out expensive. So you want to make sure that what you're doing, it's going to be an investment. Always look at it that way. Don't look at it like, oh, I got to pay another fee. I got to pay somebody else. Look at it as you are investing in your business. Your website is the face. That's your 24-hour brand ambassador. Who else is going to be able to speak on your behalf, know you inside and out, because you've poured into this site. You've done everything you can to allow people to not only find information, but start to see you as the credible person in that industry. So you want to find that as an investment. Never look at it as a burden, and never treat your website as the last minute strategy. It should always be a foundational thing where you're driving everybody always back to you to find out everything they need to find out about you, right? So if you want to hear about me, why do I refer to Instagram or someone else, a third party? Come back to me, come back to the source, and that should be always your website.
Yeah, never an afterthought, always a forethought and never a reaction. It has to be planned out there and part of your strategy, as we've been talking about here on this episode today. Charlene, how can social media, do you have social media that people can get in contact with you, see you on Instagram or some other platforms?
Yeah, so of course on LinkedIn, and I'm getting back out there again with Instagram. You can find me at Brooklyn Custom Designs, BKLYN Custom Designs, and I'm on Twitter as BK Custom Designs, because Twitter does not allow me to use the full name, so that's why it's different.
Well, Charlene, I appreciate this opportunity to have a conversation with you. And please, everyone, check out Charlene. Take a look at her profile on LinkedIn. Also follow her on social media. And reach out to the Brand Misfit because Charlene can help you get through any troubles that face you. So thank you, Charlene.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
I hope you found value with today's Build Out broadcast. Make sure you connect with Jim on LinkedIn and subscribe to his YouTube channel. This way you'll be notified on new live streams and when new content is released. Please give today's broadcast a like and share with your connections and colleagues. Thanks for watching, and please visit buildoutproductions.com for additional content and to join the mailing list so you can keep updated on other streams and quality content from the creators on the Build Out Productions team.